octave shapes in one position, and then we're going to name them based on the string name that the first finger's on. So this would be the lower E, A, D, G, and then instead of calling this a B, we're going to use the C shape, so we'll call it a C form. And then the upper E, then the lower E. Okay, so here it comes. 1, 2, 3, 4. E, A shape, D shape, G shape, C shape, upper E, lower E, shift to half step, E, A, D, G, C, upper E, lower E, move up another half step, E, A, D, G, C, upper E, lower E, descend a half step, E, A, D, G, and remember the shapes I'm hitting aren't the name of the note, they're just the name of the shape based on the root and the string. And then notice I'm building the shape first before I strike, and then my pick is going to the string I'm striking next before I strike it. Okay? So get that to where it's something you can do at a steady speed, up and down like that, like a little walk around the block, and identify it. This will really be useful. Here's a couple extra credit things. When you play the E form, there's 3 E's, right? Like this. 3 roots, I should say. Right now we're in the key of A. So all of those are A notes. If I come back here where this first finger is and I put my pinky on it, the other octave is here on the first string, right? Well, this is the G form. So if I put my first finger on the G string 2nd fret, that's an A note. And then here's my octave, right? So kind of like the E, we had a lower and an upper. So this is the G form upper. I'm going to U-turn here, hit the high string, come back to the G string. Now I'm going to bring my pinky up to the same fret on the lower E string, because those are always the same note. And then I'm going to look at my lower G form octave. Okay, the reason it's called a G form is this root is on the G string, but if this was a capo, this would be my G chord. Shape of a G chord, key of A. Okay. So move it back like this to an actual G chord. Hit the G string. Right? The octave is always down 2 over 3 from the G string. Okay? And then I could leap all the way up here because that's just automatic, same name, G. Right? So if I'm looking at this, it forms like a little triangle here. So G, 3rd fret, and then G, 3rd string open, G. And then G again in the middle string here, and then the upper G. That's where it comes from. In fact, all of the octaves I did come from the open chords. All right, let's look at the technique of holding the shape and picking. So I got the E form here. I'm going to lay my finger kind of flat like this as if I'm barring, and I'm going to mute all the strings except for the low E. Okay, and then notice that my first finger's parallel to the fret. It's not a completely straight shape, but I recommend starting out like that. And then slightly relax the finger, it'll naturally arch, and then push your finger away from the first finger. Like, you know, scissors, right? Your first finger's independent. Okay, so we start kind of like a U shape with the first finger really straight. And come up on the fret itself, cover the fret. That gives you a straight line, right? You'll find you have to align your wrist to the guitar this way a little bit, otherwise you'll be off to the side this way. So I'm kind of on a pendulum motion here. Won't get too much into the full technique of it, but it's kind of like the spider exercise. That would be a good preliminary to this, setting each finger on its own string. All right, so there's your bar mute, right? Or if I want to squish them all down, I can start there, then readjust the first fingertip just a little bit more towards the tip, arch it. So instead of straight here, I'm kind of arching the tip in the middle joint a little bit. Thumbs kind of in the center of the neck, and then rolling back slightly. That kills everything. Notice the second finger is not attached to the first, so you want to relax your grip. Apply a little pressure to the first fingertip, and then see if you can get your third finger to come down to the D string, 7th fret. Then if you strum this, everything should be silent except for the E and D string. This is pretty useful because you can move it around and make kind of cello type sounds on the guitar. Often when I do that, I'll end up using the pinky. It's just a better grip and I can move it around easier. Okay, so then we want to do the same exact shape on the A string. So you just got a groove in your finger right here from pressing on the 6th string. Bring that finger, the first finger, down to the 5th string until it falls into that same little groove you just made. And you want to be muting the 6th string. Probably should have started here in terms of where to place the finger. So if you start on the 5th string, mute the 6th string with the tip of your first finger, then mute all the other strings. Kind of gives you a consistent place. So when I move to the D string here, you get the same result. The string above is dead. And then same with the G string. Manipulate a little bit to kill these other notes. Then I'm just not strumming those two. All right. And then at this point, I'll probably change. When I go to the first finger, we don't have to worry about this too much, but if I want to play a C form and I want to mute all the strings, I'm going to grip it almost like I'm going to play Born on the Bayou chord. And I'm only hearing the inside strings. I'm muting all the strings with my 3rd and 1st finger. My thumb's not even involved in it really. I just help it out a little bit. That's extra credit for sure. That's the grip on it. This type of chord is useful if I want to add in like a melody here. That's usually when I'll apply something like that. And often I'll just hybrid pick if I need to go. You know, or maybe the 2nd finger. Like instead of the pinky. So depending on what's going on. So I'm just creating a melody here with the bass note. So it's kind of a nice sound. Okay, so that's all extra credit. Same on the D string, the upper E form. All right, so when you're applying this to the study, basically the moral of the story is you want to get your fingers so trained to build these chords or this octave shape that it's like just grabbing a D or a G or something. So here I'm plucking them at the same time with hybrid picking. Okay, so we're into extra credit mode stuff right now. So let's go back to just the basics of what we're trying to get down. Preparing your fingers in advance so that when you play the exercise, your left hand fingers are in place before you strike the note. So step 1, E form, strike, place your pick on the A string because that's going to be the next octave. Then release pressure on the left hand, bring your chord down to the A grip, A octave that is. And then ultimately, it should be muted, right? Then you would continue one at a time. Put the pick on the D string, hop down to the D shape at the pinky. Same result here. Should be a nice muted strum eventually. Then my pick on the G string, take the same shape, hop down a string. Same idea. The strumming part, that's extra credit. If you can get that to happen, then you're really on the right track. Okay, then I'm going to go to the C form, and I'm just going to single these out. I'm not going to grip it this way. Just keep your thumb in the middle. And so I put my pick on the second string before I actually change. So I'm on the G, just put my pick on the B string, then I change to the C shape. This means I already know what the shape is, rather than hitting this one and going, let's see, where was that note? I already know in my mind where it is. So you want to spend that time building it first, and then being patient, then pick it. And I'm going to put my pick on the first string, and I'm going to move the shape down for the upper E. I'm going to plant on the D string, build the lower E, plant on the low E, and then shift. All right, so watch that in action again. All right, here it comes. And then I'd move up a half step. Okay, then, so at the beginning of the video, we played that together slowly. Eventually, you want to apply this technique to it. That leads to your ability to play this octave note, like a C, let's say, all over the fretboard and make connections. This is the foundation for all sorts of studies we'll be doing. Let's look at the origin of all these octaves. So E form, right? E chord, whether it's major or minor. The octaves remain in the same position, or the roots, I should say. Right? Lower E, upper E. Then when I play the A string, A minor. Doesn't matter, my A roots are still here. A minor, A major, right? A form. That's the idea. Okay, the D form comes from a D chord. D string, B string. Whether it's major or minor. Same root position, right? And from the open string D, I'm down 2 strings and over 3 frets. Unlike the E, down 2 over 2, and the A, down 2 over 2. Just the way this guitar's tuned, right? So D, down 2 over 3. Okay, then we get our D form bar chords are kind of messed up. D minor. Basically just have to pretend you have a capo here. Sometimes you play a D shape this way with the, here's your D, and then just change the fingerings, and then capo the desired key. So in this case, the 5th fret, this would be the key of G, using a D shape. This is all part of the CAGED system. See, there's my octave hanging out, right? Build a minor chord shape. That's D minor. This would be G minor. D, E, F, G minor. G major. Or play it this way. I use this bar here and then put my pinky here. And then bar. That took me a long time to be able to do that. I usually don't play that chord shape. I can get the same result using an A shape here. So, unless I absolutely have to, I'll just play a different shape. All right, then the G string, G chord we kind of already went over. You have an upper and a lower, just like you did with the E form. And when you move it, it looks like this. My root would be any one of these 3 positions here. C, C, lower C, with the shape of a G. It's kind of confusing because you have the key of C using a G shape. And if I had a capo, and it said capo 5, and the song said play a G, you would just play a G shape, right? And the result would be a C chord sound, but it would be easy because you just play the shape of the G. And then we have the C. And that one's the Keith Richards chord style. So if I come down here and play the C chord without the first finger and then move it up to, say, the 6th fret here, that's an F. And capo, now I have an F chord using a C shape, and there's my octaves. So the octave shapes never change. Okay, and then a lot of times C minor, you don't use like the C minor chord. We don't have an open C minor. Well, we do, but nobody really plays it. That's when you learn bar chords. But if you had to, it'd look like this, and then to do that as a movable shape is kind of messed up. It's got this thing going on. And anyway, that's why when you play a chord in a form, you end up breaking them down into pieces that you can actually play. Like if I had to play this E minor chord using a C minor shape, I'm going to modify it in such a way that I can actually finger it without having to go like this and then putting this way over here and then strumming it. Because how am I going to do that on time without having a guitar up here and then, practicing it way too much? So I would just shorten it up and play a little piece of it. But what I have to see is, like, how do I know this is an E? Well, there's my root, there's my octave. And then once you know where your octaves are, you can begin to play different chord shapes off of it. So it's a big chain. Okay, then after the D shape and the C shape, you basically used all the letters in the word CAGED. So CAGED just refers to the open chord shape. So what you want to do to practice the preliminary for that is play a C chord and then change out the fingering so your first finger's not involved. So you have the origin, then you have the study. Then you're able to move it after a while. Okay, so then we go the A. However you want to play the A. Let's use the 3rd finger. So here's your typical A, right? Something like this, maybe. There's a lot of ways to play the A. Whatever you grab, that's the way you play it. Now when you move it, use your 3rd finger. On the A chord, make sure you don't get the first string fretted. That's a Hawaiian chord. This A6 or something sound there. So ultimately it should ring open, but a lot of times it doesn't. So just mute it for now if it doesn't ring open. But just make sure it's not fretted. You don't want that note. Then the root is on A, so if I move it, there's an A sharp, B, C. All of this is using the A form. And there's my octave. Right, back to where we started, E form, A form. Okay, and these all work with the minors as well. So A, C, A, then a G. So you play it like this, move it. Easier said than done. With the G, you have options for voicings. You have lower, upper. So when you move it as a capo, let's say, you can move way up here to 7 and 8. I'm sure you can grab this eventually, but who's going to do that, right? So I can play it as a lower shape and then bar here like this. I just can't hit the first string, it won't sound right. So that'd be like playing a G without the first string involved in whatever fingers you used here. I'm just using the 4th and 3rd finger, and then the open strings would be my first finger here. And then I usually put my pinky on the string here so I can't strum the high E. So when I move it, see, sounds good. If I don't, and I hit that one, doesn't sound right. That's a G6. So that's the movable form, or I could just play the top portion of it from the D string. Right, and then that's a nice sounding chord, especially if you have somebody down here playing. Where's my root? Well, what form is it? G form. G string. Octave. Okay. It kind of looks like an A. But I'm on the G side of things. My A shape is here. My G shape is here. Oh, they connect. Alright, so that's the bigger picture. So C, A, G, then we have E. So you practice it this way without the first finger. This is your standard bar chord. Here's an F, G, A, and so on. And the octaves, lower, upper. So here's the octave. There's my chord form. E major, E minor. Okay, and then when I'm playing the E, and I change fingers, move up to the half step F, right? Using an E shape. Well, check this out. If I play from the D string to the high E, there's my upper E octave. If I change my fingers and just play a straight F chord, that's an F shape. Here's a G, A. So an F shape is part of the E chord. So you can call it either or. Typically when I'm using the upper portion and moving it around in other, what I call group 1 shapes, I can put them together like F shape, D shape, and the A shape. Now I've just played an F chord in 3 positions using F shape, D shape, and an A shape. And when I was a kid, that's how I kind of worked my way around. I think it was the song Let It Rain or Old Man or something, and the chord moved from here and I remember playing it here, and my brother, he said, that's an F chord. I said, what? This is an F, and I couldn't play the F very good. And I thought, you mean you can play an F chord using this shape instead of this one? Because this is a tough chord when you're beginning. So that's when I realized, if this is a F, this is really, it's just a D. And then later that moved into like this chord I used a lot in music, which is the A form. So I thought, oh shoot, F, D, A, Food and Drug Administration. So my CAGED system was FDA, which is 3 shapes, F, D, A. Those are all just different variations of the same chord. So mine probably started something like this. Okay, so let's look at the CAGED system in 1 key, and I'll just play the octaves that we learned, which is the focus. Then the CAGED system, I have a whole nother video that takes you through that study. Okay, so C, A, G, E, D. We went through all the forms. I don't think did we do D? I think so. But D would be played like this back here. We talked about it earlier, but not in this context. So D, down 2 over 3. And then you got the regular D chord. So you'd practice it this way. So you got the origin and then the study. So just to go through that one more time, I'm going to do the origin of each chord, spelling CAGED, C-A-G-E-D, and then I'm going to play the same chords using the study, which means your first finger's not involved. So here goes C, A, G, E, D, CAGED, C, A, G, E, D. Now I'm going to play them all without my first finger. C, still covering the same notes. A, I'm going to play it this way. G, E, D. That's it, right? Get to practice these. Come up with a chord progression like, let's just say C to G to D maybe, and then just practice strumming them with these new fingerings. So make it sound right. I'll start on G, C, then D. So go G, C, D, stuff like that. So if you ever get an injury on your first finger, then you can still play. So these take a while to form. It's like starting all over again, but I highly recommend practicing your chords back here. All right, now let's do this all in just C. So the way this is going to function is you're going to find the very first C on the fretboard. So you kind of just go, well, let's see, we got E, A, D, G, B, E. B. C, that's my next note. That's my very first C numerically if we're looking at fret numbers. C, then I scan for another C. Beep, right there. And then a C here, or right there. Well, these are the shapes we're going to deal with. How do I find those so quick? Well, first of all, I know where every C is because I hung out with them all the time. It's like finding your friend at a concert. There's thousands of people there, but you found your friend because you know what he looks like. Okay? Anyway, we're going to start with the C, and if I'm on the B string, then we know we're using the C shape. So automatically I play the shape. Then I'm going to replace this finger with my first finger, and I go, what string am I on? The A string. Oh, A shape. So down 2 over 3. So I hold the shape. Then I put my first finger where my third is. I'm on the G. I'm going to play the upper G. I'll leave the lower out for now. Upper G would be down 2 over 3. So the pinky finger. And I'm going to put my first finger on that note. Now let's see. Oh, I'm on the upper E form. So I need to play this one. It's up 2 frets and then 3 strings away like that. Then I leave my third finger where it is and play the lower E form, that is. Okay, and then I'm going to do a U-turn. I'm going to repeat the E and go back to the D string. Put my first finger on the D string, and then I find the octave, D string. Oh yeah, that's down 2 over 3, pinky finger. Then I put my first finger where my pinky was, and then I play, I'm on the B string. Oh, this is where I started up an octave. This is the C form. So I just imagine a C shape there. I could keep going if you want, but just stop there. And I don't recommend descending just yet. Get it to where you play going up. So it sounds like this. With the rhythm, and you want to play the shape before you pick it, and put your pick on that string you're about to hit. Ready, begin, and C form, A form, upper G form, upper E form, lower E form, U-turn, E form, D form, C form. And then here's going backwards. C form, D form, lower E form, upper E form, upper G form. Let's throw in the lower G form, U-turn, and then A form, C form. You want to get to where you can do that without thinking about it. So no matter what string you're on, you have a response to it, like where's the octave. Very, very useful. That's the core of a lot of stuff we'll be working on.